guys, Rom Guruji here, and today we are going to talk about the history of OnePlus. As in, we are going to talk about how OnePlus went from being a flagship killer to a flagship itself. But first, if you're new here, press that subscribe button, press that bell icon for all the new notifications, and let's get started. So, today our discussion is how OnePlus went from being a flagship killer to a flagship. So I'll take you through the history in brief about OnePlus, where it's headed and where it is now, right? So when OnePlus came, it shook the industry. And I am being very serious. It actually shook the industry. How? Well, it's simple. The industry was going in a certain direction where Google was dominating the flagship market. Also Samsung was there, but Samsung's UI did not match Google. Google was considered to be the choice. And when I say Google, I mean the Nexus phones. They were actually what were Google's technically before the Pixel devices came, and Nexus was a hit. Everyone loved Nexus. And a reason behind why everyone loved Nexus was a simple, very straightforward reason. You could use custom ROMs. So Samsung phones were really hard to root and unlock the bootloader. Xiaomi, Mi, Realme, all these phones did not really make their market jump yet, and iPhone was still out of reach. So Nexus was there, and people used that for flashing custom ROMs, using cool OSS, having a lot of customization. Now one custom ROM that really stood out was the Cyanogen mod. So OnePlus thought, let's make a phone undercut the Nexus price and add in Cyanogen mod to that. And that is exactly what they did. They actually made a phone that was undercutting the Nexus price point and added Cyanogen mod to it. So people obviously were attracted and were curious about this device for a very simple reason. This was the first manufacturer that was actually giving you a custom ROM as a stock ROM. It was very interesting. Moreover, it made OnePlus exclusive. I'll tell you how. The OnePlus One was an invite-only purchase phone. So basically, if you had an invite, you could purchase the phone. If you did, you could not. And how do you get the invite? You share the OnePlus share page to other people. Basically, free marketing. So when that happened and people started getting invites, the invites were still not enough and the demand was really huge for OnePlus One. So huge that people had started selling these invites in black. I mean, on Craigslist, in OLX and whatnot, people were selling their OnePlus invites. And the cost for the invite was zero actually, it was a free invite, but people were actually getting good money from it, those who had received the invite. Now let's talk about the phone. The phone had a great build quality. It seems superiorly premium when compared to Nexus devices. They use different materials. As always, OnePlus offered top of the line tech, but at a lower price point, which was really crazy at that point and was unheard of. Today, you have so many companies undercutting these big players that, okay, you don't really bat an eye, but at that point, they shook the market. From there, OnePlus slowly went on increasing their prices model by model, but people did not realize because this price increase was incremental. It is somewhat what Apple followed over the years, but Apple's already the starting point was pretty high. So OnePlus did this incremental increase, and where they changed their game was with OnePlus 60. So if you have heard about OnePlus 60, OnePlus 60 actually won awards and was given MKBHD's Best Phone of the Year award. It was a great phone. They had really gotten the perfect phone down. They had everything. They had the latest technology, style, processor, everything. And it was sleek, premium build and finish. And it was amazing. Why am I saying that this was a pivotal point for OnePlus? Was basically because After the launch of 60, they launched something known as OnePlus 60 McLaren Edition. And it was really costly. It was something that was unheard of from OnePlus. They'd never launched this costly of a phone. So this was a point where every phone reviewer knew that okay, OnePlus now wants to get into the premium flagship category, and that is what started happening. By the time they got to OnePlus 8 Pro, now they're already a premium flagship brand. So you don't look at OnePlus as a flagship killer anymore, but rather a flagship. Now people will say, okay, they launched Nord. So if you observe the strategy of Samsung or let's say Xiaomi or Realme, they have their phones in every price segment. They cover the lower price segments, they cover the mid-range, they cover the premium flagship category. OnePlus is trying to do something similar with the introduction of the Nord series, and I think they're going to release one more series based on Snapdragon 400 processor. So that they have released Nord, they're also now part of the mid-range category, they're also part of the flagship, premium flagship category, and now they're going to be part of the lower end category. What problematic situations are coming as far as the phones go is that the quality has been deteriorating over the years. Since the company is getting more and more famous, people are also facing more and more problems. And this is not because the company's workforce is not doing their job well, but rather the fact that they have been releasing phones after phones after phones, that the time given for testing and fully bug fixing is going down and lower, right? So that is one issue. Now let's come to the OS. This was all about the devices and how OnePlus went from being a flagship killer device to a flagship device. But when you talk about OS, OnePlus has always been the best. They started with CyanogenMod, but after CyanogenMod was off the map, they introduced Oxygen OS. And the basic idea of Oxygen OS was, let's take good things from stock Google Android, let's take something from CyanogenMod and mix it up. And that is how Oxygen OS was born. Oxygen OS is as close to stock as they can get while offering all those customizations that they do. But OnePlus again is now moving towards a more modded and heavily themed kind of a UI with Android 11 as they've shown. And to be honest, to a certain degree they are mimicking Realme UI and One UI, which I think is not in favor of OnePlus since their OS was already pretty good. Don't fix what's not broken. But then, well, the company is headed to a certain direction, right? So there we go about the OS. Now, if you ask me that, okay, is OnePlus still the flagship killer brand? Well, their price points are now a bit off and don't seem to be at a point where they can be considered flagship killer fully. You can't really consider the Nord as a flagship killer since it is in competition with some other phones that offer 855 plus or 865 processors, whereas Nord has the 700 series. So it's not truly a flagship killer, but yeah, it's somewhere there. So should you buy the OnePlus brand phones? Honestly, right now, if you buy, you must always be informed that what changes are going to take place. OnePlus is going to make their UI a bit more themed, a bit more One UI like rather than more stock like. So yes, there will be their own set of problems. OnePlus recently has also had a problem with the quality of the devices they're shipping, the shipping problems itself. But still, the company holds up to its promise of having a great software experience, at least for now. So if you have the money and if you're okay with the little problems that you might face, which are actually very little, then yeah, go for OnePlus. But if you're looking for something that is more value for money, you may have to start looking at some other brands very soon. That's all for this video, guys. If you did like the video, press that like button. If you did not, please comment why. And I'll see you in the next one.